Is going on, everyone? Welcome back to this week's installment on The Lake Show, and I really appreciate you all making me a part of your day again. And as you can see, borrowing my brother's room again. I'm still in the works of making my own studio, so that's a work in progress. Should be up and running in about a couple weeks, so I still got to carve out time this week to go and make some more setup changes and everything like that. But I have the majority of what I need to make sure I have a full-fledged studio. So last week I went into depth about the divisional round games in the NFL playoffs and gave my thoughts and predictions and opinions on the AFC and NFC championship games. And to say the least, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding at least one of these games. But that's to be expected when the Kansas City Chiefs are playing in a conference championship game. So we're going to get into all of that today. And I'm also going to go over some of the head coaching hires that have been taking place in the NFL over the past couple days and the past couple of weeks. And some are pretty good hires, and the others, well, looks like mediocrity awaits these teams that have hired said coaches. And as you all know, I'm a Bucked Up ambassador, so use promo code SHOW32, get yourself 20% off any and all pre-workout orders at buckedup.com. So where are we going to start first? Well, let's save the good part for next. We'll start off with Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Washington Commanders in NFC East rivalry in the NFC title game. Yeah, the Eagles won 55-23. I did not see this coming. And I'm going to give all credit in the world to Jayden Daniels on an incredible rookie season. He's done things with, honestly, we can say one of the most average rosters in the NFL. Washington doesn't have a lot of world beaters. They don't. This isn't necessarily the greatest roster constructed, but it does show what, I think this is a blueprint of what not to do in the NFL. Washington's case from last year to this year. If you think about it, last year, they were owned by Dan Snyder, probably notoriously one of the worst owners in the NFL, not to mention all the heinous crap he's done since he's been there. And it was a carousel at coaching quarterback for the better part of a decade. The last time I remember Washington being decently competent was when Robert Griffin III was quarterback. But after he got injured, then that entire franchise derailed. It really does seem like since RG3's injury years and years ago, I believe it's 2013 or 2014, years and years ago, that, sent Washington on a downward trajectory. But I think this goes to show what you definitely need in the NFL. If you get a superstar quarterback and a new ownership group and a decent head coach, doesn't really matter what the rest of the roster is. Now, that's not to say that a stacked roster is not important. After all, look at Philadelphia and what they did in this game. Philadelphia is looked at as the best roster in the NFL. But if you look at Washington and what they were able to accomplish this year, what Jayden Daniels specifically was able to accomplish this year, it's nothing short of remarkable. I thought that Washington would have had I thought they had a chance in this game. And for the most part, throughout the first half, they kind of did. But let's be honest, that defensive front for the Eagles, they showed no mercy. They literally bullied Washington for the majority of this game. So Brian Robinson, at least, Washington's starting running back, he had 11 carries for 36 yards, 3.3 yards a carry. His longest run of the day was 7 yards, which is not going to cut it against Philadelphia. And then the backup, Austin Eckler, 8 carries, 15 yards, averaging 1.9 yards a carry, and the longest run he had was 4 yards. Yeah, that's tough when you're going against the Eagles with all the firepower that they have on the opposing side of the football. So when you look at Jayden Daniels' numbers, 29 of 48, they asked him to throw a lot in this game, which who can blame them just because they were playing catch-up for the majority of the day. 29 of 48, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Was sacked 3 times, though. That's how good the Philadelphia front seven is, though. That's a testament to them and how great they are. And as a team, they only rushed the ball for 99 yards, which, is not going to cut it. And the former Eagles, Zach Ertz, was actually the biggest playmaker on Washington this past weekend. Zach Ertz had 11 receptions and 104 yards. The former Eagle actually showed out because he's an elder statesman in the NFL, but he's still a pretty dang good option to go to at tight end. And of course, Terry McLaurin got 3 receptions, 51 yards, and a touchdown. That's no shock there. Terry McLaurin's probably quietly one of the most underrated receivers in the entire National Football League. But if you look at the Washington defense, they got some pressure. They only got 2 sacks on the day, but this is a testament to who we're about to talk about, the Philadelphia Eagles. As a team, rushing the football, they ran the ball for 229 yards. Over a 100-yard difference between them and Washington. And Jalen Hurts didn't have too bad of a game himself. They don't ask Jalen Hurts to do a lot. I think when Philly gets in trouble, they have to rely on Jalen Hurts a little too much. And I think you could get in trouble with that if you don't have one of the most elite quarterbacks in the league. Guys like Mahomes, unfortunately, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You can lean on those guys a little bit more because they can handle that load. I haven't seen anything that points me in the direction that Jalen Hurts can handle that kind of load. So Philadelphia, what did they do in the offseason? They went and got the difference maker Saquon Barkley, someone who's a bell cow back, speed, athleticism, strength, overall probably the best running back in the NFL, and I don't think it's even close at this point. I know a lot of people want to say Derrick Henry. A lot of people said when healthy, it's Christian McCaffrey, but that's just not the case. Even when the Giants moved off of Saquon Barkley because they gave Daniel Jones a contract extension instead, I knew Saquon Barkley would have over 2,000 rushing yards in a season. If you put him behind one of the best offensive lines in football, I knew he was going to show everybody just how truly good he was. And I don't think anybody was denying how good Barkley was in general. But that just goes to show you the difference an elite offensive line makes. That brings you from a really good player to literally all-time great status. And Saquon Barkley is on his way to all-time great status. And Jalen Hurts, like I said, they didn't ask him to do too much, but he did distribute the football really well. 20 of 28 passing, 246 yards, and 1 touchdown. No interceptions, was sacked twice. So Philadelphia, they put their foot on the gas and didn't let up. It was all gas, no brakes for Philadelphia. So you look at Saquon Barkley, he had another 100-yard rushing performance, 118 yards, and 3 touchdowns. A.J. Brown got into the mix after only 3 receptions throughout the entire playoffs up to this point. 6 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. So A.J. Brown now got into the mix. And then you look at just the sheer amount of talent on the defensive side of the football for Philadelphia. It's just unreal. And they controlled this entire game from the jump, forcing a lot of turnovers against Washington. So I didn't expect it to be this this bad of a blowout. I kind of expected a close game just based off the last time Washington and Philly played. But Philadelphia is heading back to the Super Bowl after beating the Washington Commanders in an NFC East showdown in the NFC title game 55-23. Now let's transition to the AFC, and oh boy, is there a lot to talk about. Kansas City, the Chiefs in their 7th straight AFC title game, end up beating the Buffalo Bills 32-29. Yet again, the Bills are left scratching their head, wondering what went wrong and how they can get over the Patrick Mahomes hump. Well, I'm just going to say this because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, really. I'm not. But I'm going to show you 3 pictures real quick. Here's the first one. You are seriously going to tell me that this was a catch by Xavier Worthy? Really? You really think so? Check out this one. Yeah, that looks like a first down to me. You even saw both line judges, they completely whiffed on it. This was a terrible, terrible call. Absolutely awful call. Not enough. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, guess what? That's blatant, clock violation. Like, that should have been a 5-yard penalty on Kansas City. There was not enough time to run down the clock to the 2-minute warning. There wasn't. Look, it's blatant. It's black and white right there. It's literally clear as day. The whole narrative and here's where I get on guys like Colin Cowherd and the media in general, like Shannon Sharp. Like, I get on those guys because, yeah, is it directly the one single cause of the loss of the game? No, but you are full of it if you don't think it plays a massive factor in it. You are full of it if you don't think the way that the refs swallow the whistle for Kansas City and the way the stuff that they let them get away with. Like, especially the 2-minute warning. Like, the play clock ran down already. That's blatant. That is just stupidity right there. I seriously think the NFL should investigate these referees, but at the same time, I think the NFL is also partially behind it because they want to see Patrick Mahomes get his third straight Super Bowl. They want to see Patrick Mahomes become the new GOAT. They want to see Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift in the confetti after the Super Bowl 59. Looking at these three things, like in this game, you can't tell me that didn't defy this game. And everybody and their mother who watches football knows it. The analysts on ESPN and Fox Sports, they don't want to ever admit it because, frankly, I think they can get into a lot of trouble for doing it. But us as fans, we can preach it all live long day and not care one bit about it. I'll say this, Josh Allen played his heart out, 22 of 34, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. James Cook had a heck of a day, 85 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. He also added 49 receiving yards. Mac Hollins, 73 receiving yards and a touchdown. Like, it was lined up perfectly for Buffalo. Now, let's say that these things didn't happen and Kansas City actually won fair and square, as I like to say, as everybody likes to say. This is just a classic Patrick Mahomes thing. We've seen Patrick Mahomes at least the past 2 years. They struggle in the regular season. It looks like someone's going to dethrone them. But at the same time, Patrick Mahomes is just a different breed in the playoffs. He is. And as much as I don't like the Chiefs and as much as I don't like Patrick Mahomes because I'm so worn down by it all, I will say, like, he is the second greatest quarterback of all time. People are saying if he gets a three-peat, he's going to be better than Brady. No. Absolutely not. Brady has 7 rings. This would be Mahomes' 4th. He's still got a lot of time to develop into that. Now, I know nobody's ever done a three-peat. Okay. But still, Tom Brady has 7 rings. 7. More than all NFL franchises. He has more rings than every single NFL franchise as a whole has. So I'm going to pump the brakes on calling Patrick Mahomes the GOAT over Brady, even if he wins the three-peat. But that was the story of the day, basically, because it's just something we all expected as fans. We knew that Kansas City would be given the benefit of the doubt. And here's another thing that nobody, I think, is ridiculous. On that 4th down try for Buffalo to keep the game going, to try and drive down to take the lead against Kansas City, that ball that was dropped by Dalton Kincaid, if anybody notices, there was a flag thrown. But they picked the flag up because of what reason? I think they had that flag ready just in case Josh Allen completed that pass. it's sickening. It's probably stupid to think that way, but I don't believe in coincidence. I really don't. Like, you're telling me, like, what's the explanation for picking up the flag? Don't the refs, when they have to wave off a flag, don't they have to give an announcement to the entire audience, including the home audience and those in attendance? At least from what I understand, they were supposed to, but they didn't. They waved the flag off for whatever reason, probably because Buffalo did not convert, and it didn't matter. But I think it's blatant ignorance if you don't think that there's certain ploys in place that wanted to ensure Kansas City got to the Super Bowl. But it is what it is. It was what it was. I can't do anything about it. Nobody can anymore. So the Kansas City Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl with a chance to three-peat after beating Buffalo 32-29. Now, let's talk about a little preview before the Super Bowl. I'm going to give you my Super Bowl thoughts and predictions. Unfortunately, and I've always had a soft spot for Philadelphia, mainly because of Saquon Barkley. They're the last hope for everybody, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I really think Kansas City's going to three-peat. As much as I hate to admit it, I don't see... As much as I like, and here's the thing about it. Philadelphia's defense is well equipped to blow out the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, James Cook ran wild on Kansas City. What do you think Saquon Barkley's going to do? You know, I love Josh Allen and the Bills. They don't nearly have the roster and the depth that the Philadelphia Eagles have. Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, top offensive line, Jalen Carter on defense, along with Darius Slay, and Nolan Smith at linebacker. Philadelphia is just stacked. There is no reason that Philadelphia should not win this Super Bowl. But because of other factors that we should take into consideration, I still like Kansas City to three-peat. I'm honestly going to predict a 35-30 kind of game. I think Kansas City, if you took the refs out of it, I think Kansas City still has a good shot to win, but that's my prediction at this moment. It might change in a week when we talk about it again next week, but right now I'm going to go with Kansas City 35, Philadelphia 30, Kansas City clinching their third straight Lombardi trophy. All right, now we're going to finish off the show with there's been a bunch of head coaching hires recently, and some are good, some are leaving me scratching my head. So let's talk about the obvious one first. The Chicago Bears job. Now, I was on record saying that you need a grown-up in that locker room to be able to change a culture and basically tell the McCaskies when they're screwing up, which they do quite often. But the Bears have hired Ben Johnson instead, the Lions offensive coordinator. I like the hire just because I see what offensive minds do in the NFL compared to defensive minds, unless they're a well-seasoned, established defensive head coach / coordinator. So Ben Johnson, he's an offensive guy, and we all know how good Detroit's offense was. I think it has the potential to work. I think it should work. In theory, it really should work. It should be a slam dunk hire. But the thing I don't trust is the fact that it's the Chicago Bears organization. They have never been notorious for any of these good hires. And here's the funny thing. Matt Nagy, the former head coach of the Chicago Bears, he got to the playoffs twice with Mitchell Trubisky, and Chicago ran him out of town. Now, Ben Johnson, if he doesn't succeed, he's going to be scrutinized even more. Even if he does succeed to a certain degree in Chicago, are we so sure that he's still going to be around? Like I said, Matt Nagy got Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs twice in that division with a prime Aaron Rodgers, who was still great on Green Bay, a scrappy Minnesota team, and the Lions, who kind of bottom of the barrel at that point in time, but still trending upward. They still had Matthew Stafford at that point. So if Ben Johnson, even if he does succeed to a small degree, there's a good chance that Chicago will run him out of town just like they did Matt Nagy. But overall, as a hire, I like this hire. I've been saying it for a while that Ben Johnson will get a head coaching job. Did I think the Bears was necessarily the right fit? No, because I think you need a culture setter in there. I don't necessarily know if Ben Johnson can be that guy to set a new culture in an organization, but we're going to see. I still think it's a great hire just because I think he's going to elevate Caleb Williams to what many believe I feel like many people believe Caleb Williams should be where Jaden Daniels is right now. But again, nobody even remotely thought any rookie quarterback would live up to what Jaden Daniels did this year. So I think he's going to elevate Caleb Williams to another level. Maybe not quite to the season that Jaden Daniels had, but I definitely think Chicago will be fighting for a playoff spot next year. All right, so Mike Vrabel, little reunion with the New England Patriots. So after 1 year, they let Gerard Mayo go. That's no shock to me, really. Gerard Mayo was a terrible hire. As much as he was a great player in New England, came from the Belichick tree, which is problematic already. But I love the Mike Vrabel hire. He's going to come in there. He's going to set the tone in that locker room. He's going to set that culture straight. And I think he's going to get New England back on track. Maybe not quite to dynasty level New England Patriots with prime Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, but Mike Vrabel is more than capable of getting New England back on track. This man, after all, did coach a team led by Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee to the number 1 overall seed in the AFC a couple years ago. So I think Mike Vrabel is a great coach, and I think he's going to do fantastic things. I think New England's on the up and up from here on out with Mike Vrabel, at least for the foreseeable future. The New York Jets, and here's another coordinator gone from Detroit, and this is where I worry about Detroit going in the future. They have a great roster, but they were riddled with injuries this year. But the New York Jets hired defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn to be their new head coach. So you go from one defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, to another defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. I'm not against it, really, because Aaron Glenn has shown, even with Detroit's defensive injuries, they still played fairly well towards the back end of the year. They did. And I think Aaron Glenn, for him to succeed in the Jets, he has to be the guy that won't take anything from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, he's just a locker room killer, in my opinion. I'm worried about this hire because, it's defensive side of the football, and we'll see. I don't think necessarily it's a terrible hire. I think there's way worse hires, and we're going to talk about that one real soon. But the Las Vegas Raiders hired Pete Carroll, another defensive guy, but a well-established coach, a culture setter, probably the most player-friendly coach ever other than Mike Tomlin. He's up there with him, and a Super Bowl champion. If there's one thing that the Raiders need desperately in that organization is a sense of direction and leadership. I liked Coach Pierce a lot. I don't necessarily think he was given a fair opportunity given the circumstances. I mean, when Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew are your two best quarterbacks on roster to go forward, I think you're at a disadvantage already. But that's neither here nor there. In comes Pete Carroll. I will say I think this is a tremendous hire. If there's one, like I said, if there's one thing that the Raiders need, it's a sense of direction and someone at the helm to lead them in that right direction. So I think this is a great hire by Las Vegas. Now it matters who the quarterback's going to be come come fall. Do you go move up in the draft to draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? Do you wait in the second round to get like a Jackson Dart or a Jalen Milroe or Quinn Ewers? Or do you test free agency? Do you go get Russell Wilson? That would be an interesting pairing if Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll reunited. But based off of how things ended in Seattle, I don't see that happening. Or do you go get Kirk Cousins? Which I don't know necessarily if, he's better than Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. I'll give him that. But if I'm Pete Carroll in that organization, I'm trying to move up in the NFL draft. I think they need to. They need their quarterback of the future, like soon. But overall, as a head coaching hire, I think that's an A+. I really do. A lot of people think this is just a B+ hire or a B- hire. I disagree. I think that's an A+ slam dunk hire. Now, I can tell you the final coach I'm going over, this is an F hire. I don't care what anybody says. I do not care that his daddy was a legend in Marty Schottenheimer, but the Dallas Cowboys hire Brian Schottenheimer to be their head coach. So Jerry Jones got his puppet. That's basically what this hire is. There were so many good candidates out there for head coach this year. There still are some good candidates out there. Deion Sanders was rumored for a while. I knew deep down that was not going to happen because that would take so much of the spotlight off of Jerry Jones and what he wants to do. Because if there's one thing about Deion Sanders, I believe he would come in there and try to clean house in a sort of way, like get them on the right direction. And I just don't think that Jerry Jones is ready to give up his power that he has in that organization. I know he's the owner and he has all the power, but he has too much power in the sense that he makes day-to-day football decisions when he has no integrity to do so. You hire the offensive coordinator from last year who didn't even have play calling duties. That was left to the head coach, Mike McCarthy. And you might as well have just kept Mike McCarthy. You are keeping a lesser version, one who didn't even call plays last year. Like, what are you doing? This is the most head-scratching hire I've seen, and it's actually hilarious. Now, Marty Schottenheimer was a great head coach in his time in the NFL. Brian Schottenheimer, his son, he's been a career journeyman. He's been through the pro level, the college level. He's been through so many jobs over his career, and now he finally gets a head coaching gig. Well, we're going to see really what he's made out of. This really isn't the greatest roster in Dallas. I don't even know if they're going to re-sign Micah Parsons on this team. You still got Dak Prescott. Not saying much. You got CeeDee Lamb. He's the top 3 wide receiver in the league, according to most people, including me. Offensive line still needs work. You don't have a run game. Defense is Swiss cheese. I don't know how this is going to go for Brian Schottenheimer, but I can tell you from a coaching standpoint, I don't think this is a great hire because there were so many better coaches on the market that you can actually let come in, install their build their culture, and get the team heading in the right direction. The Washington Commanders, Philadelphia Eagles, and the New York Giants all have more recent NFC Championship game appearances than the Dallas Cowboys now. I'm pretty sure the Dallas Cowboys haven't been to one since 1995. I wasn't even born then. It's about 30 years. And they haven't won a Super Bowl in over 30 years. And you know why? It's because Jerry Jones can't get out of his own way. That's the reality of Dallas. And does it sadden me to see this? Absolutely not. I love seeing this. Just because Jerry Jones, he is so egotistical that he won't ever admit that he's wrong or that he makes the wrong decisions. Like, dude, this is probably the worst head coaching hire in the NFL right now. Like, this is up there. You've become the new Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, that's the reality of Dallas. This really is a garbage hire. I don't like the hire, and it's nothing against Brian Schottenheimer, but how do you hire the offensive coordinator from the team last year to be head coach this year when he wasn't even the one calling plays? You know, all these Dallas head coaches or Dallas coaches in general that leave, they all have instant success. Kellen Moore's with the Eagles. Well, Kellen Moore's in the Super Bowl right now. Dan Quinn, he was gone. Well, he just led Jaden Daniels and Washington to an NFC championship. Mike McCarthy will get a job. I'm sure of it. So, you know, I just think it's all because Jerry Jones can't get out of his own way. And that's going to wrap it up this week on The Lake Show, everyone. I really appreciate you all making me a part of your day again. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, leave some comments down below. I'm your host, Dominic Lako. God bless.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror.